So yeah, and then going on to 2009. And just backtracking slightly, and so in 2008 we were really still trying to figure out how not to die. And one of the things was that I thought would really help is if we had a strategic partner, like one of the big car companies, to be a strategic partner. And so in October of 2008, actually, I think it was, I stopped over in Germany in Stuttgart and met with Dr. Weber, who is the head of R&D for Daimler, and said, like, look, we'd love to figure out how to work with Daimler. Is there anything that you guys need on the electric vehicle front? Is there anything we could do? And he said, well, they want to make an electric smart car, but they don't have a good source for the battery and powertrain. So I was like, okay, this sounds like maybe we could help here. And he said that, well, there's a Daimler team, a senior Daimler team that's planning to visit Silicon Valley and meet with a bunch of companies in January, I think it's like January 10th or something like that, of 2009. And I was like, okay, so we've got 3 months, okay. And he said that he would ask them to meet with Tesla and kind of make their assessment. So I was like, okay, wow. So then I immediately, as soon as I left that meeting, I called JV and it's like, JV, we have 3 months to make a working electric smart car. JV was like, what are you talking about? And it's like, okay, there's some challenges here because the smart car was not actually available in the United States.
Couldn't even get one.
You couldn't get one. They weren't shipping in the U.S. Did you want to tell?
Yeah, sure. This was a kind of ridiculous, crazy story.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, of course, we were all hard at work trying to make the Roadsters actually work and scale up production.
Exactly. So it's not like we didn't have stuff on our plate.
This was quite a non sequitur. So 3 months. We put together a rough plan on how we could even possibly achieve this. And first of all, we had to get a car physically, and the only place we could figure out to get one this fast was in Mexico. So, literally, the next day we sent an engineer to Mexico with about $20,000 in cash to go and try and.
It was legal. I mean, sort of. Sort of legal.
To purchase a smart car, and he drove it all the way back to San Carlos. And I think the day after that, we tore the entire, propulsion system out of it and started designing a custom battery pack, from scratch. We had ideas on how we had done the Roadster pack, of course, but that didn't fit in this car. It was way too big. So, a very tiny team, small SWAT team of engineers, prototyped and architected a one-off battery pack, a lithium-ion battery pack that could fit into the smart car.
Yeah, and I did make things slightly more difficult because I said, like, look, you got to put the powertrain and the battery pack in the car, and it needs to look unmodified.
Yeah. Couldn't touch the passenger compartment.
Yeah,
so it had
exactly.
To,
you couldn't just like put it in the trunk, like just have a big battery pack sitting there in the trunk or something. It's like it needs to look like it's a normal smart car.
So the battery was a big challenge. We had to invent this brand new battery pack in a couple months and build it. Then on the drivetrain, we had to figure out how to adapt a Roadster motor and power electronics system and charging system into the back of the smart car in this tiny volume. And amazingly, we were able to repackage that whole thing. That team didn't sleep a whole lot in those couple of months, and it was also through the holidays, which was great.
Yeah, exactly. Thanksgiving, Christmas.
But everybody was having the time of their lives. It was super, super fun. We were in a little teeny garage in San Carlos, trying to make this, smart car electric. And one of the things we realized pretty early on is that this was going to be the fastest smart car that had ever been made.
So this was amazing.
It had all the torque, would have all the torque of a Roadster packaged into this tiny little car.
It was so fast you could do wheelies in the parking lot.
Yeah, it was, anybody that got in that car, exited just with a huge smile on their face. They just absolutely loved it. So that car basically led up to the meeting where we, met with all the Daimler engineering leaders and executives.
Exactly. Let me tell you about how the meeting went. So the Daimler sort of senior engineering team shows up, and I mean, it was clear when they entered the building, they were like not excited about meeting with some like American car startup, whatever, So they'd like been told, that they needed to do this, and they were like, well, this is obviously going to be a waste of their time, and they're quite grumpy, actually. And we started off with a PowerPoint presentation, and they really didn't like the PowerPoint presentation, So I said, you know what? Why don't we skip the PowerPoint presentation? Would you like a test drive? And they're like, well, what are you talking about? What do you mean a test drive? I'm like, yeah, we made one. I'm like, made one? What do you mean? Yeah, we made one. So it's just outside. Do you want to drive it? And they're like, sure. So then they went out and test drove the insane performance smart car. As JB was saying, it's like basically you can't exit that without a grin on your face. So they went from being a bit grumpy to be like, holy cow, this is awesome. And we actually, out of that meeting, it got our first development contract with Daimler to create an electric smart car, and that was really, I think if we hadn't done that, Tesla would have died, because the Daimler partnership gave us credibility that a major OEM was willing to work with us. And they also, they paid us for the development program, which is really helpful from a revenue standpoint. And then most importantly is that when Tesla kind of was running out of money around May 2009, and I had no money left. I'd given all of the money that I had remaining to Tesla. I didn't even own a house. And I had to borrow money from friends to pay rent. So I was like, man, I am out of resources. So I was like, we need. I just don't even have any more money to invest. So then we need to seek outside investment, and this is early 2009. And just to sort of paint the picture, General Motors and Chrysler were going bankrupt at the time. The idea of investing in an electric car startup was not popular. We would talk to investors, and they would be angry that we even called them. But thankfully, Daimler did invest, and then they invested $50 million in May of 2009, which was a lifesaver. So I just really, I'd like to just say thanks and give a hand to Daimler for that. I was like, So without that investment, Tesla would have been game over. So they invested, thankfully, and that gave us the resources that we needed to get the company to moderately healthy position, and actually get us to the point where we could build roadsters without losing money on every car. So our roadsters that we delivered were significantly negative gross margin until about basically third or fourth quarter of 2009, because we had to redesign so much of the car, we had to change out suppliers, and so actually every roadster we sold before, say, the second half of 2009 actually cost more money than it did. We earned less revenue than it cost to build. But by late 2009, we'd finally redesigned the car and changed out most of our suppliers, and were able to generate positive margin on the car, and then we had positive margin on the Daimler development contract. So the combination of those two factors got us to a reasonably healthy position, but we would never have gotten there without the Daimler investment. And I think this is important because a lot of people think that Tesla was bailed out by the federal government or something like that. This is not true. We were bailed out, but by Daimler, not by the government. So they're the ones who deserve the credit here. We wouldn't be around. Tesla wouldn't be around if they hadn't helped out. In fact, we still have an ongoing program with Daimler for an electric B class, and we're like there's a great bunch of guys. So
yeah, I mean it's worth saying that first smart program led to what became a pretty thriving powertrain business for Tesla in those intermediate years. We made a lot of profit, as Elon was saying, and did some great engineering work for Daimler, building a production smart EV and then also a production EV A-class, and today the B-class, which is still shipping. And those programs also taught us a huge amount. Being a supplier to Daimler was not terribly pleasant sometimes, but it also trained us in quality, and it trained us in some of the systems that they had used for 100 years. So we got to really accelerate up the learning curve on building some of these very complex systems and how they validated them and how they made them last for hundreds of thousands of miles.
Absolutely. So we just want to express a huge word of appreciation for Daimler and their help with Tesla, and without which we would just not be around. So thank you.